Jesus be mad. And just for the people in the cheap seats, my Jesus is black, always been black. My Jesus come from the hood, know how much a gallon of milk costs, wears uptowns. My Jesus from the people. My Jesus is a liberator of the people and breaker of chains.
Learn if God is good,
yeah,
if God is all powerful, and if God is all knowing, then why is there suffering? It is time for us. And what's the point of being black women in ministry? What's the point of being black women who can read the biblical text if we are not going to bring the best of our skills to say to our people, listen, it's time for us to rethink some things. And maybe this toxic theology that we have inherited.
Yes, we become less aware of who are our actual offenders. And as a result, our gaze is toward each other and we fight each other, right? As a way of thinking that we're ultimately undoing these systems. What do you mean when COVID-19 first started that we need to have debates about whether people should be doing communion at home? Why is that a debate when all of our churches, in terms of the Christian tradition, early churches were in houses? I mean, don't you remember Lydia?
Hello, my sisters. Hello. It's good to see you all. Welcome everyone back to Timely Wisdom. Come on, let us know that you are here. Let us know you are here in this comment section. And remember today, this month, we are dealing with her story. This is her story month, I see my sisters, Dr. Bradford and Dr. Wallace. So good to have you all. And while y'all are kind of introducing yourself, I've been inundated with some other stuff, but I've seen it come up on my on my phone. Haven't had a chance to read it, but there's been another shooting. Is that correct this week? So y'all, as y'all checking in, fill me in on what I've missed.
Well, can you fill us in on why you've been so busy?
Just been busy. Hallelujah. The Lord is good.
Oh, you know,
hey, Doris Thorne. Hey, Ashley. Hello, Elise Williams.
Look, you see Wallace.
Hey,
I tell you.
how y'all be today?
Good.
Welcome to Timely Wisdom.
Hey,
they let two white boys live who have shot 10 people each. So that's 20 people dead. And they walk away.
They're alive.
Unscathed.
They walk away alive.
Unscathed.
Yes.
But okay, I'm not gonna get started today. But a black man just trying to get out of his car get shot. Okay, hold on.
Yes.
I asked y'all to tell.
No, a black man just jogging in his neighborhood gets shot.
Didn't you ask the question? Not only are they both unscathed, they're able to be escorted to the car and just politely be put in the car.
Hop in while they hold his head.
And they hold his pants up.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Oh, yes.
He didn't have on a shirt, nor did his pants were sagging. But they hold his pants up, making sure that he was all right.
Yeah.
Oh, they noticed that the blood.
He was limping to the car, and there was an officer and a first responder on each side of him, so he could walk to the car as he limped. I don't know if somebody shot him too, or I don't know. We're gonna let Dr. Sarita tell us the real 411.
Right. Hey, Dr. Scott and Reverend Simpson, go ahead.
So they didn't say whether or not he was shot.
Come on.
But the interesting thing was that they blurred his face and refused to identify him because they said they weren't for sure he was the shooter, even though people in the store were saying that's the man. Another thing that I thought was interesting was the young man in Starbucks went so far as to say, they asked him, they said, could you see him? And he said, I don't see too well.
Wait, hold up, back up. Do you see what Reverend Simpson just said? Colorado guy was shot in the leg, but is being released today. Say what now?
released.
Burns, you
Hopefully
muted.
that's released from the hospital to go to jail.
I'm hoping I'm hoping she's saying one of the victims that was shot is being released today. I'm hoping that's what that means. Doris Thorne, it was an honor to be with you all on this weekend.
Okay, so she opened the door, Dr. Burns. So
wow. No, we're talking about release. Who Rosa Simpson, who was the one released? The shooter or the one who got shot?
We're thinking it was the shooter. We're thinking it may have been the shooter. But the interesting thing again is the care that was given to him, the way that he was handled. I mean, we might as well took him to Burger King to get some food.
Okay, he did go back.
Let's not relive the Dylan Roofs. We will not relive that. Okay, we will not relive this. But what we do know is that the Atlanta shooter and the Colorado shooter both are alive and both are able to tell their own story. But yet a guy sleeping in the parking lot at the Wendy's store at Wendy's is dead. Mm-hmm. Someone jogging in their neighborhood, black guy, is dead, right? Guy who's walking out of a convenience store, George Floyd, dead, right? Breonna Taylor in her own bed, right? Dead, right? I mean,
dead.
So wait a minute. Can I add this? The Georgia shooter, the chief, I think it was the chief who said, he was having a bad day.
Had a bad day. He just had a bad day. He shot folk in Cherokee County, which is 45 minutes away from Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. Then they found him 45 minutes south of Atlanta in Crisp County, on his way to Florida.
Okay, so I'm trying. Not only that, the other guy was.
See, the Lord knew I didn't need to watch TV. Okay, go ahead. God knew. Go ahead.
Dead. Yeah, I'm just all of this having a bad day, walking them to the car because they're checking. Oh my gosh, you're bleeding. What's going on?
You know who had a bad day? Are those dead Asians? That's who had a bad day. The shooter did not have a bad day.
But listen, you do realize. Wait, there's some feedback.
You know it's coming from Kansas City.
I am innocent. I am innocent, and I am pleading the fifth.
They're saying that they don't want it to be a hate crime because not only were Asians killed, there was two black white people that were killed as well.
Oh,
he probably couldn't tell the difference. That's all.
But my question is, his excuse is that he was lusting after the women.
But, okay, now you all know we've been talking about womanist thought all month. Now you all know that's a whole nother lane of thinking, right? Because after all, that's why women
in Atlanta that he shot up was a brothel.
Oh, one of.
Yes. It was a brothel. Mm-hmm. And he had frequent there several times.
Oh.
Come on, give us the background, Wallace. I'll see you.
He had frequent the establishment several times. So apparently somebody didn't do their job well, and he just got mad.
All right.
Okay, it's time for
this today. Good. We're going go ahead. We're talking about finance today.
Children on this broadcast.
I'm just saying what I heard on the street. That somebody didn't do their job well in the brothel, and so he got mad.
So you just go from place to place and kill folks?
Dr. Wright, yeah. I think we have a guest today. We're gonna lead them right down the clothesline. We're gonna let that one hang. So we're just gonna leave that right there. Okay, Dr. Wright.
Welcome everybody to Timely Wisdom. We are excited to be here. I am extremely excited to be able to present this young lady. I'll tell you a quick story. Some years ago, I was trying to make a decision about some stocks, and I kept buying these penny stocks, because it seemed easy. And so my sister said, why do you keep buying all this stuff? You don't know what you're doing. And I said, oh, well, maybe not. But I mean, it's just something to do. And my child was sitting at a table and she was coloring. Now, mind you, this was a child that I took to the school, and they told me she wasn't ready for kindergarten because they said she wasn't mature enough. Her birthday is in August, and they said her birthday was too late. So as she's sitting there coloring, she never looks up, but she says, my daddy says in order for stocks to be any good, they have to sit sometimes so they can grow and grow and grow. At that point, I looked at her, I said, put those crayons down because your butt's going to school today. So without further ado, I am excited to introduce to some and present to others my youngest daughter, Stacia Williams. As founder and wealth advisor of Williams Financial Group, Stacia helps clients to pursue their retirement goals and dreams through well thought out financial strategies for retirement. She works to develop lasting client relationships by ensuring our clients' needs are taken care of to the highest degree of satisfaction. She has an extensive background in working with individuals across socioeconomic and cultural divides, which aids our firm in providing holistic and culturally relevant services to our clients. Prior to joining the firm, Stacia served as the marketing event planner for Lathrop & Gage LLP, in Kansas City, Missouri, a Kansas City-based corporate law firm. Her work primarily focused on bringing diverse groups of clients and prospective clients together for the purpose of providing timely insights, timely and insightful information and helpful information and relevant corporate legal topics. Stacia graduated from the University of Kansas City, Missouri with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice. As a native of Kansas City, Missouri, Stacia has been involved with the community throughout her life. She shares her parents' passion, that would be me, for the homeless community, and has worked alongside the outreach ministry to share them, to supply them with food, water, personal hygiene, and items. In her leisure time, Stacia enjoys spending time with her family, traveling, and food tasting. Without further ado, I introduce Miss Stacia Williams.
Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Hold the
wonderful. Audience, you all have to see this. So I got to do something for. Hold on, y'all have to see something for a moment.
She is so not right. Okay, she's mine.
Kind of sort of look a little bit alike.
100%.
Hi, Stacia. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for bringing your wisdom to the table. One of the things that I am so excited about is we have done very well in providing information and timely wisdom to in spiritual things, and so it's just a blessing to be able to come back to the table and provide some financial wisdom to our viewers and our listeners, and so we're ready if you're ready.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I thought about in pursuing some of my own endeavors, I wanted you to explain the difference between a financial planner and a financial advisor, because many people think that they're one and the same. And so I wanted you to share with us, what's the difference?
Sure. First of all, I commend you ladies for hosting a segment on financial topics, especially for women. So many women need the information, and unfortunately, they don't get the information until either their spouse is deceased or until they're later on in life and they're trying to retire and they're trying to put everything together. And so I commend you ladies for providing an opportunity for me to come and to speak to other ladies and other women about their financial endeavors. So what's the difference between a financial advisor and a financial planner? Financial planners really focus on creating long-term plans. And a financial advisor is really someone who kind of walks with it, who focuses on your investments, so to speak. So planning, when I say financial planners, I like to think to make it easy, budgeting, someone that will help you budget, help you with your budgeting, but financial advisor, someone more so that focuses on your investments.
Wonderful, wonderful. So then, if I'm looking at something, when I'm going long term, I need somebody who's going to help me see down the road where my money needs to go, right? Mm-hmm. Or the changes in the financial climate, as far as, each time we have a new administration, there are concerns about the atmosphere changing. So,
absolutely.
Okay, so we need to know how that works. Now we have a lot of amazing ladies here, and I'm sure that Dr. Wallace, can you see that question there? Okay, I'll do it for her. It says, what is a portfolio and the associated risks?
So your portfolio is really a collection of your investments, whether that be your stocks, your bonds, your money markets, your IRAs. Your portfolio is really just a collection of all your investments. And what are the associated risks? The biggest thing that I see when dealing with clients, especially women clients, is that we don't know. So when you talk about the risks that are associated, what we like to do is, first of all, if you come in and see us, is to sit down and identify what risks are within your portfolio. There's different levels of risk. If you're invested into certain stocks, then you're likely taking on a higher risk, as opposed to if you're invested in certain bonds, you're taking on a lower risk. So it's different levels to risk, and all of it can work together. But it's just important to understand, at your age, what level of risk should you be taking. And one of the approaches that we use in the office is the rule of 100, which is the classic financial planning rule. Basically, to find out your level of risk that you should be taking, or the percentage of your portfolio that should be exposed to risk, you take your age minus 100. So I'm 37 years old. That means that 63% of my portfolio than 63% of my portfolio should be exposed to risk of the market or risk of loss.
Well, Stacy, would you please help us understand what a portfolio is? You have said that word about 5 or 6 times.
Yes,
would you help some of us understand what portfolio is?
A portfolio is just a fancy word for your different accounts, your different investments, your different money market accounts, your different your savings. You can put that in there, checking. It's really just it's a one big collection of all of your financial statements, or your financial whatever you have inside your financial portfolio. That's just a collection of your accounts.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Wright mentioned every 4 years we are concerned about the risk and what we have here, and what should we do in the stock market. Explain, why is that an issue every 4 years, and why are we so concerned?
Right. Well, every 4 years, the economy is ever changing. And anytime we get new administration, that means there's going to be some changes with your economy, because no matter who comes into office, everybody, they want to start. First of all, they've promised us these things. They've promised these changes. So they at least have to start acting on some of those changes. And when that change happens, it starts to affect everyone. It affects us all as a whole. And really, the stock market is just based off of the GDP. So the gross domestic products, it's the stability of the nation. It's anytime administration comes in and starts making changes and starts tinkering with that, then of course you're going to see change, or you're going to see some fluctuation, whether it be it go up or whether it be it go down. You're bound to see changes because of the new administration with their new changes.
Yeah,
the gross domestic product, the GDP. Mm-hmm. The last administration put us in $1 trillion debt. Mm-hmm. So does that mean our investments went down, or did they go up?
Actually, I know not all of us really like Donnie, but, the last administration wasn't solely responsible for the debt. I mean, we didn't just jump from zero to $1 trillion overnight. So I think it's fair that we share that responsibility. But of course, and actually, if you talk, depending on who you talk to, some say, if you look at some stats, some say that the stock market actually loved Donald Trump. It did well for the last 4 years. We did see some dips, but of course, we have to take into account we had coronavirus. So how did that affect our market? But for the most part, we've seen some all-time highs within the last 4 years. And so, it just it's a reflection of the U.S. economy.
So there is a question in the comment section from our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about Bitcoin and as an investment?
Mm-hmm. I personally,
that question, she has 2 follow-ups, so we'll just go with that one.
Sure. So Bitcoin, I personally, that's not my area of expertise. And my mother always taught me, if you don't know about it, or then you don't have to talk about it. So that's not my expertise. That's not my clients aren't really, I'm not really, that's not what I'm advising them on. So I don't really have an extensive spiel on whether or not you should do Bitcoin. I definitely think before you do any investment, whether it be commodities, Bitcoin, or stocks or bonds, I definitely think that you should do your research and not just follow trends. I will say that.
Yeah, because it's definitely a trend. It is an increasing trend, I might add, but it is a trend.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's good. That's good. So one of the questions that we had was the age range of our viewers is 30 to 55, pretty much. Well, I guess I exceeded that. Sorry.
So average.
On average.
The average range of our viewers is 30 to 55. Give us 5 things that we should or shouldn't do with our money.
So when we have clients come in and see, the first thing, one of the questions that we ask when kind of interviewing our clients is, if you could do things differently, what would you go back and do? And so I enjoy what we do because you hear all different kinds of answers. So I took from that and I came up with the 5 things, because there's, of course, more than 5 things. But the first thing I would say, and this is personal experience, is give God his 10%. I have noticed personally in my life, when I wasn't being faithful to that 10%, that I saw some things that kind of started moving around and not for the better. So I will always encourage to give God his 10%. Next, save 10% of any income that you have coming in house. So it doesn't matter. We see people, we know the stimulus checks are being released. And it's unfortunate because in the news, we see how on my timeline, I've seen how everyone is saying to invest these stimulus checks, and really it has no long-term end or no long-term benefits. Let me say that. But no one has said save 10% of all income that you have, that you acquire. The next thing I would say is invest early. If it's Bitcoin or if it's stocks, if it's bonds, invest, because if it's not invested, it won't grow. And the younger you are, the more time you have to make back from when the market corrects itself. So I will always encourage younger people that don't start when you're looking at retirement, or don't start when I get 40 or when I get 30. Start as young as you possibly can. Even if you're just putting away $100 in an IRA account, that $100 can grow and grow and grow based off of how you have invested. And then if you work for an employer, contribute to your 401k. It's heartbreaking when I hear clients come in and I didn't know to contribute. I didn't start contributing until I got older. Contribute, first of all. Ask your HR department. Ask questions. We don't ask questions. We assume, or we don't want people to, think that, we don't know what we're talking about. Well, the only way you're going to find out is if you ask questions. So find out, does your company have a 401k? If your company does have 401k, what is the maximum that you can contribute? And after you find out what's the maximum that can be contributed, find out if they're matching. So that's free money to you. And lastly, I would say have a plan that is regularly reviewed. So if you're working with a financial advisor, you start working with a financial advisor, don't just go invest it and leave it there. Open those statements, those quarterly statements that you're getting, those big books. I've heard of clients that in the 2007, 2008 market crash, they weren't opening their statements, and then they opened their statements, and guess what? They had lost 40% of their portfolio. So I always encourage to make sure that you have someone that's walking through your investment journey or walking through your portfolio with you, and that stays current and keeps in touch with you and keeps you up to date. So those are the 5 things that I would give.
Well, explain. There may, I don't assume anything.
Mm-hmm.
There may be someone here that has no idea what a 401k is.
Yes, ma'am.
So explain A to Z what a 401k is.
So a 401k is basically a plan that your company holds, or that a company holds, that takes your monies that you put into, and they vest in the market. And when they vest in the market, of course, that 401k, it participates with the market. So if the market is rising, when I say market, I mean stock market. If the stock market is going up, your 401k is most likely going up. If the stock market is going down, your 401k is most likely going down. And a lot of times, as I mentioned, your 401k has the opportunity I'm sorry, let me back up. There's a cap as to how much you can contribute out of your paycheck. And sometimes it's between 4 to 8%. And that can vary depending on the company, because every company sets their own plans for their 401k. But they will allow you to contribute to 8% of your earnings to go into a pre-tax account. Pre-tax is before taxes. So before that money ever hits your checking account, before anything is ever paid, that money is put into your 401k. And then when I mentioned the employer match, sometimes companies are generous and say, well, if you contribute 6%, we'll match you the first 3% that you put in. So they're giving you free money and it's all going into your 401k account. So it's just it's a retirement plan. It's a retirement account.
I think
reservoir.
I think this is a good place to jump in and ask this question. How do we choose the right financial advisor? A lot of people aren't really savvy about finances. And so they really don't know what to look for character-wise. And let's just keep it real. Even though there's some good old money out there, now, you know, my grandmother, she could tuck some stuff in a mattress. And it's really a sin and a shame that when our seniors pass on, our message to our siblings is, don't let nobody in that house till we get there. Because we got to go do that clean sweep behind the pictures and through the books and all of that.
Right.
So what do we need to look for to find a good financial advisor? One that's reputable, one that we won't see on American Greed. I mean, did I say that? One that because when you don't know, it's easy to be taken. And the second part of that is, would you mind posting those 5 things that you put for us? Would you mind leaving those with us before you go today? Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm making a note to come back to your question about what to look for in a fight. I see some comments on the side. So do you recommend investing into GameStop? Again, it's one of the things I truly believe wholeheartedly that you should look at trends, identify if it's a trend or if it's not a trend. I personally am not vested in GameStop. And then if you look at the history of the whole scenario behind GameStop, I encourage you to do some research there as to how it rose overnight, and then that's the advice I'll give on that. And then, can you control the risk your money is invested in with the 401k? No. And I'm glad you did. Good. Thank you, Daniela, for asking that, because when most people, when you're invested in that company has what's called a general pool. Now, sometimes, like if you have a TSP, you can control the level of risk that you have, that you're exposed to. And a TSP is a government 401k or government plan, and it's a thrift savings plan. You can control your level of risk as to what how much you're exposed to the market. But for the most part, that company has a general pool, and you cannot go in and take, and tinker with the system that they already have set up. So that's why we encourage clients, when you leave that company, it's called it then becomes a stray 401k. And you absolutely have no control, because you're not even an employee with that company anymore. That company is now acting and saying what is good for your money and what is not good for your money. So when you leave an employer, I always advise clients that it's always good to take your money with you, because guess what? You're gone. And it's not that company didn't care for you while you were an employee, but you're gone. So take control, take your money with you. Now, in regards to the financial advisor, what do you look for? Of course, you always fiduciaries. Fiduciaries have a responsibility on a whole nother level, let's say that. And the people that the Bernie Madoffs and so forth and so on, the people that you see that have gone to jail is because most likely they're criminals. But even if you're a fiduciary and you're not advising your clients to their best interests, then you're likely to lose the license, or even sometimes be fined, or you can even do jail time. So I would always strongly recommend a fiduciary. But even you have a fiduciary, I always say, you want to work with someone that's going to call you back. You shouldn't have to call. It shouldn't take your financial advisor a week to give you a call back on your account. If you give them a call and they're not calling you within 24, maybe 48 hours, I guess you could say, during a busy time, then that would be a flag to me. That would, I would start to raise some concerns. But also someone who talks in your terms. A lot of the times I sit in on couples meetings. My husband and I, we both sit in on the meetings. And the reason being is because most married couples, the financial advisor is in the relationship with the husband, and the wife is just there to show face. And so when the conversation is going on, the wife a lot of time doesn't know the language, or I don't need to know, Henry handles the finances. Well, no, you want a financial advisor that can recognize when you look like a deer, like you're a deer caught in headlights, and they can slow it down and make sure that you understand, because statistically men die before women. So when Henry is gone, you're going to be left to pick up the pieces. And the last thing you do not want to do is not understand what was being talked about in those meetings with Henry and your financial advisor. So you want someone who really cares about making it simple for you to understand. And then someone who can put together a plan that makes sense for you. Not a cookie cutter plan, not a plan that, okay, well, then you can pick from A, B, or C, but something that's really customized to your life situation. Every single day we sit down with clients and I hear stories after stories after stories. No one couple is the same. No one person is the same. So you really want a financial advisor that can advise you based off of your circumstances, not limited to what they have, or what their company says that they can introduce you to, so forth and so on. So you want someone who's knowledgeable, someone who has the access to the means to be able to advise you based off of your situation.
That was
Sorry,
good.
that was a lot.
No, that was a great answer. Yes.
That was good. That was good. So let me ask you this. How do I make sure that I do not outlive my retirement savings? I think right now that's a major issue, especially, working with your dad and I, working with the food pantry, the number of times that we have supplied food and tried to make sure that our senior community is taken care of. And Dr. Bradford also does a lot with her community as far as serving the families in the community to meet their need as far as food and so forth. And so That's a concern for us, because to see so many seniors come through and knowing that they don't have enough to make it, and then listening to some of their stories, how can we make sure that we don't outlive our retirement income that we have?
Again, it all starts with building a plan. Even whether you're heading into retirement, if retirement is 5 years away, or if you're heading into retirement, or even if you're in retirement, always get a second opinion. But it starts with a plan. You want to work with a financial advisor that will build you a plan, not to last you for the next 10 years or not to last you for the next 15 years, because life expectancy, we've added on a whole nother 20 years. And because of that, people are living longer. And so we want to make sure that that plan doesn't stop at 10 or 20 years, or doesn't, we want to make sure that it carries you through your lifetime. The best advice I can give on making sure that you don't outlive your retirement savings is to putting together a plan, working with your financial advisor, to make sure that you have a plan in place that answers questions such as income and retirement. One of the biggest fears we hear of people going into retirement, when we ask, what is your number one fear, is, I don't want to run out of money. Well, they don't want to run out of money. And then, of course, I don't want my lifestyle to have to change. I want to continue to take vacations. I want to continue to shop. I want to continue to take care of the grandkids. So no matter what those things are, when we are looking at when we're sitting down with someone, we take all those things into consideration, because this is your lifestyle. I mean, we want you to, what's the point of going into retirement if you're going to struggle? Then you might as well keep working. So our goal is always to make sure that your income, that you have a sustainable income throughout your retirement, and understand the products that you have. Don't get caught. Don't get sold on a whole bunch of graphs and charts. Ask questions. If there's pensions, make sure that you're asking questions. Okay, if my husband is set up or he's taking a pension, what happens when he dies? What a lot of people don't know, if he's set up on a single income, when he dies, that money goes into thin air. That money doesn't come to you. So a single income payout. But if he's set up on a joint income payout, when he dies, then you will start to receive those payments. And I know the baby boomers pensions are a big deal with you all. And so it's just make sure that you ask questions and make sure that you understand the plan that's set before you. And then I think that you should be okay with not running out of money.
So, wow. Stacia, help us in the Black community, particularly.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to bury our loved ones. And so insurance. Help us understand, should we have insurance, or should we just let our loved ones bury us?
I want to go on record as saying GoFundMe is not an insurance plan. I've been waiting to say that for a long time, and my husband would probably kick me under the table if he were in here. But GoFundMe is not an insurance plan, a life insurance plan. It's nothing. Here's the thing about life insurance. If you're younger, life insurance is they've made it so affordable. You're more likely to go spend more money on eating out, fast food. So it's not like you're going to that 5-star restaurants, but eating out at fast food restaurants, then you will pay on making a monthly contribution to your premium, making a monthly premium payment to cover your life insurance. Wow. You don't have to have $50,000, $100,000. $5,000 to $10,000 will bury you comfortably. So when you talk about, do I think life insurance is important? I most certainly do. I think life insurance, I think not to have life insurance is selfish, because even though you're gone, now you've left that burden with your family. And so instead of being able to grieve your loss and truly think highly and the good things of you, they're stressed out because they're trying to scrape together dollars. And not to mention, so many young kids or so many young adults are dying sooner and leaving young kids behind. So now you've left that burden to mama and grandma and so forth and so on to raise your child. When for $28 a month, you could have put together a policy could have been put in place to cover, at least cover your burial expenses, and then also to cover some time for your family to again get everything situated. So do I believe in life insurance? I most certainly do, Miss Wallace, because I think it's unfortunate that we're not able to grieve because we're stressed out, and it rips the family apart because I'm contributing this, you're not contributing. Everybody expects everybody to chip in, but again, instead of bringing the family together, it really rips the family apart. So I'm an advocate for life insurance.
Well, thank you for that, because our community has, we cannot even begin to build wealth when, even if it's just $25,000 that you leave to a grandchild,
absolutely,
that will have a lasting effect on the potential for the grandchild.
Yes.
So, you know, we need to think about that life insurance and what we do with it and who we leave it to.
Absolutely. And if it's one of the things of going beyond, and unfortunately, our culture, I'm sorry, we've passed off the babies on grandma, and grandma's made it okay. And love you all, but it's not okay. At some point in time, if we're responsible enough to make these babies, we should be responsible enough to cover them from A to Z, and whether that's I'm living or if I'm dead. So it truly, it burdens my heart to see when babies are left, because and even the babies are passing away. And so, and mama is grieving, and mama can't go back to work in the 3 days of bereavement time that she's been given. I have life insurance on every single one of my babies. And it's not because I want I value the money behind it, but I know that if something were to happen to them, I'm shutting down for a little while. And so, and I don't want to have to think about covering this or going back to work and making ends meet to do that, to cover that, pay this bill, pay that bill. I want time to grieve my baby. And so I most certainly think there's no age limit on life insurance. And then even one of the things that start a life insurance when that child is young, instead of giving a new pair of Nikes, or instead of giving Jordans for, gifts to these babies, how about we come together and we start some whole life policies to where as that child grows, the cash is accumulating inside that policy. So when they hit the age of 18 or 21, you're now able, without having to go break the bank, you're now able to turn that policy over to them so that they can go to college. So we have to think outside of what's been put in front of us, because right now we're doing exactly what we were set up or we were told to do. The Black community puts more money into the economy than any other race. And if we were to keep that money, or we were to be wiser with our money, then we most certainly could accomplish a lot. We most certainly could make sure that our children aren't struggling should something happen to us. We most certainly wouldn't stress ourselves out because we don't know, if something were to happen to us, if our child would be okay or not okay. So there are options out there, and we're responsible for finding out that information, because if we can Google the latest hit song, then we can surely Google information that will set us up for later on.
And that is such a powerful statement, because the emphasis, talk a little bit about teaching children about financial, about starting their savings. I remember when Stacia was a little girl, I had accounts for my children. And so I would take them into the bank and I'd let them give the lady their money. And so one day I took Stacia into the bank, and she went to the counter where the teller was, and she put $1 up on the counter, and she couldn't see her, so she was reaching, and she put the $1 up there, and then she put her deposit slip, and then she stood back on her tiptoes, and she was looking, and the lady was like, "There you go, Stacia," and she gave her a sucker and a white piece of paper. Stacia took the sucker, and then she took the white piece of paper, and she turned around to me, and then she realized the $1 was gone, and she screamed, "Mommy, Hut took my money. me. But I wanted them to understand the importance of saving something. You don't have to be broke.
You don't.
You don't have to always run to the store and buy some candy and buy something. And what did we always say? We give them some money and then we tell them, go buy you some candy. Go buy you go buy.
You're absolutely right. And you know, my children, I most certainly, they have now created literature for children as young as kindergarten, to where they break down how to understand a stock. So even if you're an adult and you don't understand, that's your fault, because you can now go get these children's books that break down how to understand the stocks and the way the stock market works and investments and so forth and so on. I recently bought it's Boyce R. Watkins. He's a Black educator. He's very big on educating our youth, our Black youth. But he has a series that it starts off at kindergarten, and then it of course has it goes up to, I believe, fifth or kindergarten, then it goes up to like 5th, 6th grade, and then it goes to middle school, high school, so forth and so on. But this workbook, when we talk about gifting our kids, or we talk about setting our kids up for success, these should be the types of gifts that they're finding under the Christmas trees. As a matter of fact, take $100 and start an IRA account that you can manage, to start an IRA account for your grandchildren, because you're absolutely right. We don't have to be broke. We've chosen to stay broke. We've chosen to use excuses as to why we can't accomplish our financial goals. But here's another thing. We pay off a bill. If you pay off that bill, do you know what will happen if you took the money that you were paying towards that bill and you stuck it into your savings? That's another way of accumulating. You was paying the bill anyway. It's another way of accumulating savings. So get creative when it comes to your savings. My mother has a system that with the dollar bill, she say for every dollar bill she gets, she looks to see if it has a C on the end of it. If it has a C on the end of it, then that dollar bill goes into a jar. And if dollars might not sound like much, but she's graduated to 5s and 10s. So it's one of the things of get creative with your savings. We are without excuse anymore. So I most certainly think that we should be instilling that in our youth. And you're right. Don't go tell them to go buy a piece of candy. Candy is temporary. No, go buy something that's going to set you up for a lifetime.
Right. Absolutely. And the reason that I choose the C's is because I look for bills with my husband's initials on it. And when I find a bill that has one of his initials on it, I take that bill and I put it aside. And most times I save it for a year, because that is a reminder to me of my investment into my marriage of 45 years. Amen.
Someone wants to know the author's name. It's Boyce, Boyce or Boyce, I believe it is, Watkins. Watkins.
Mm-hmm. That's Pastor Pam Berry out of Topeka, Kansas. Amen. Hey, Pastor Berry.
Well,
go ahead, sweetie.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, love.
Explain the decline in functional status, the long-term care need.
The need for long-term care. Well, see, it used to be that you could go get a long-term care policy for pennies on the dollars, but anymore, these insurance companies have seen that the baby boomers are actually utilizing these long-term care policies. So what that's caused is the long-term care policies have now, the cost to get them has now skyrocketed and really essentially made them unaffordable unless you're amongst the rich. But why is there a need for long-term care? The baby boomer generation, when I say baby boomers, about 55 to 65, you all are the first generation that's known as the sandwich generation. And what does that mean? You all have parents that are moving in with you all that you're taking care of, and then you have children that never left home. So it's known as the sandwich generation. Now, what happens with the generation that's coming up next? What happens when, who's going to take care of you all? because what we're seeing with trends is this next generation ain't taking care of you all. And so it's important to have long-term care in place to make sure that if your family does need the help or does need to call in the help, they're not strained financially and they can afford to do so with that policy. And long-term care doesn't have to it doesn't have to be purchased individually. Let me say that there are other products out there that have long-term care riders within them that don't cost you a lot of money up front or don't cost you a lot of money every single month. So ask your financial advisor about long-term care riders or policies or products that have long-term care inside of them.
Okay. Let me get one more question in here. When should we take our Social Security?
Sure. Social Security, you can take it as, or it really kind of depends on your financial situation. So say, for example, if you're 62, you can take Social Security. And then if you're 66, 67 years old, you can also take Social Security. That's known as full Social Security. So you'll get your full Social Security. But if you take it, and then you can also take it at 70 years old, each one of those ages, that amount that you're allotted for your Social Security, it increases. If you are a widow, and you're taking Social Security, it's important to know that should something happen to your spouse, or when your spouse passes on, you get the higher of the Social Securities. We have a lot of wives that come in and say, well, I'm not going to take my Social Security because Randy is, he's taking his Social Security. Well, you should still take your Social Security too, because if Randy passes away, then you will then get Randy's Social Security. So I advise people to look at your situation, look at if it makes sense for you to start taking Social Security. You're 62 years old. I personally don't see the benefits of waiting until 70 years old. I mean, 62, you should be living life. And if that extra money is going to help you to accomplish that, then I most certainly feel like you should do that. Now, don't take it early, because if you take it before 62, then you most certainly will receive a penalty.
I'm on my way to the SSI office.
Well, and if you're still working, let me cover one more thing since you mentioned that. For those that are still working and have surpassed the age of 62, you also need to check with how much money you can make to where it will not interfere with your Social Security. Because if you start taking Social Security and you make over a certain amount, Social Security doesn't like that. You can incur some penalties or some backlash from them. So make sure that you check to see what is the maximum amount of Social Security or income that you can make if you are taking Social Security.
$18,000, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
And the max.
Right.
Ain't much you can do with $18,000 plus Social Security. So you need to be clear about that.
But Dr. Wallace, I'm going to do that joint thing with Mr.
I'm hollering. Mrs. Stacia, can you go back to life insurance and being healthy and how it increases when you're not so healthy?
Yes. Well, so life insurance is given based on, well, you have term life insurance, which is your cheap life insurance. That's usually the older you get, basically the closer to glory that they deem you so, then the higher your life insurance policy or your premium is going to be. Is the easiest way to put that.
Yeah.
And so it does increase. It also can, again, but even if you're young and you have some health factors, some health issues, again, anything that insurance company sees as something that's going to push you over the edge sooner than they're able to make their money from you paying premiums, then that most certainly can cause you to pay higher premiums.
That's a good answer. I'd like to know, our viewers are enjoying all of this. If they need a financial advisor, financial planner, how can they get in contact with you?
Absolutely. Williams Financial Group is the name of our company and name of our brokerage. And it's williamsfinancialllc.com. So www.williamsfinancialllc.com. We have a lot of great information on there. It tells about myself and my husband. Our oldest daughter is our client relations specialist. We are a family firm. So when you talk about integrity, my sister-in-law is our directors of operation. When you talk about integrity, we most certainly hold that to the highest degree. And then also my phone number is 816-533-4111. And so when you
go back and do it again, because people really want to contact you. And I want to give them every opportunity to do so.
Yes, ma'am. So the website is www.williams with an S financialllc.com. And you can go to the schedule an appointment tab on there and schedule an appointment that way. Or you can call directly at 816-533-4111.
Good. Thank you for that. There is a question in the comment section here. We have just a little time for more.
Absolutely. So is it better to get whole than term insurance? Well, it depends. If you're younger, I most certainly term insurance is always going to be cheaper. The best way to look at term insurance is it's temporary. So term insurance can last for 25, 50 years, but the thing is it's temporary. It has a cutoff. So if you're younger and you just want something until you get in a better situation, I most certainly encourage you to get term insurance. And then when you graduate to, being, or you can do a little more, then I will most certainly encourage you with whole life insurance, which is basically when you pay into that policy or your premiums your policy starts to accumulate cash value. And over time, you're able to take loans against that account or against that policy. And if you decide to surrender, then you walk away with a cash amount. Now, if you're in the higher tax bracket and you're trying to look for ways to be creative to not share everything with Uncle Sam, there are IULs out there, index universal life policies, that will allow you to hide some money inside of those policies to where you're not being taxed so heavily, or you can grow your money tax free. Let me say that. So you can get very creative on life insurance, but I most certainly think if you're younger, term insurance is okay. But the older you get, you really want something that's going to, set you up for cash value.
This is excellent information, and I tell you that you will get calls. They're going to bombard you, and you will have more clients. I'm sure of that. So we're excited about that.
I'm sorry, Dr. Chalice. I'm going to correct that phone number. It's 816-531.
No, it's 533. That's correct. It's 533-4111. That's because my mother calls my cell phone. She don't call the office.
It is correct in the comment section for the viewers to see, so we're good there.
One more question that I'd like to address: is there a cost to transfer from term to whole? How easy is it to transfer? You can't transfer. That's the other thing. A term policy is a term policy. It's kind of like it's set in stone. You can't make any changes. You can't modify it. It's once you get it, that's what you're stuck with. So you can't transfer those premiums that you pay into a term policy. You can't say, okay, well, never mind. I want to I want to put that into a whole life policy. You can't do that. So it's important to know that, once you get term, you're stuck with that term policy.
It says, do you counsel out of town people?
Absolutely.
We have 2 minutes, but I want you to just share that if a company does not match, they are not obligated to stay there with their funds in 401k.
Well, even if you leave the company and the company does match, most of the time it's called the funds that the company has vested, that vested balance. You can take that with you. The only time you can touch that vested balance is if you've reached a certain retirement age or you leave the company. So just because they put that money there is just when your termination happens.
Very, very good.
They do have there is a limit on, some companies, I know the government, you got to work at least 3 years with them in order for you to obtain the amount that they put toward your retirement. Other companies, it may be 5 to 7
Fully
years
vested.
before you're vested. Exactly. So you need to know.
Right. And that's williamsfinancialllc.com. And this last thing that I'll leave with you all is when you are leaving, when you're taking your 401k, you want to make sure that you roll it over into another another eligible IRA. Because if you take that money, if you allow that money to be sent to you, then you're going to be responsible for taxes. And if you're 59 and a half, if whether you're with the company or not with the company, then you could most certainly take withdrawals, and you're not penalized for taking those withdrawals. So the biggest thing is if you leave that company, do not let them send you a check. You want to have that rolled into an IRA and then figure out a plan with your financial advisor going forward. And that website is williamsfinancialllc.com.
Got it. We're making the change.
Yes, ma'am.
This has been awesome. Dr. Sarita, would you like to end it? And then let me share with you who we have next.
Yes.
Next week, we have none other than the Reverend Dr. Melva Sampson. You do not want to miss our last Tuesday of Herstory Month. Come on back here at 3 o'clock, same time, same place, Timely Wisdom. We'll look to see you. Enjoy your week.